Hello, Raptors fans, and welcome back to Raptors Report. I'm your host, Julian. Today, we're going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But before we do that, I want to talk about one of the most interesting rivalries in the NBA, and that is between the two forwards on the Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors, Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley. And those two matched up for the third and final time this regular season. And the Toronto Raptors, thankfully, were able to deal with the Cavaliers, and they swept the season series. And, you know, Evan Mobley had a decent statistical night, but it was pretty apparent that Scottie Barnes was the better player in this game and the better player over the course of the series against the Cavs this year. He has clearly leveled up and looks like a completely different player than he did last season. And, Scottie Barnes FC is riding high yet again. All of the old narratives that Toronto Raptors fans kind of had to put in their back pocket last season have come back out to the forefront. We are now ready to ride and, wave our flags, our Scottie Barnes flags proudly. But it hasn't always been the case. In fact, this is one of the most back and forth rivalries that I've ever seen. It is pretty remarkable how these two players have played in their careers thus far and how much of a seesaw competition it's been between the two of them. Evan Mobley was drafted third overall in the 2021 NBA draft, and Scottie Barnes was drafted right after him with the fourth pick. And Scottie being picked with the fourth pick was actually a big surprise to most people, including myself. A lot of people had Jalen Suggs penciled in at that spot as, the best player available. And Evan Mobley was actually considered the second best player in the NBA draft that year after Cade Cunningham. And it was kind of a surprise on draft night when he dropped when the Rockets picked Jalen Green with that pick. That was definitely a mistake. Evan Mobley has been clearly the better player thus far in his career and probably will be for the remainder. I don't see a universe in which Evan Mobley is not the better player for the remainder of his career. So, he dropped a little bit and Scottie Barnes jumped very high in this draft. He was considered, the ninth pick or something like that. The Raptors liked what they saw and they took a chance, drafted him with the fourth pick. And I think they've been pretty heavily rewarded for that. Scottie's rookie campaign was a massive success. He showed his greatness early. He showed that he was, not exactly as advertised. He had a scoring game. He could shoot a little bit. He could handle the ball. He was an extremely exciting player for the Toronto Raptors. It looked like he was going to be, a versatile forward for them for the foreseeable future. And he was putting up a lot of really gaudy stats and really took people by surprise. Evan Mobley also was, doing things in his rookie campaign, and he was efficient and he was playing really well alongside the Cavs guards. They were really setting him up for success. And he also, Jarrett Allen was sort of the big brother on defense, where he could concentrate on playing his game at power forward with Jarrett Allen behind him at the center position. So he was in a really good situation there and really thrived in his first year too. And it was a battle right up until the very end for Rookie of the Year. And Scottie Barnes just squeaked over the finish line first and, captured the Rookie of the Year, much to the chagrin of Cleveland Cavaliers fans who felt that their guy was robbed, that Evan Mobley should have won. But Scottie Barnes had a really good second half to the season and really improved, showed a ton of improvement and success. And Mobley kind of stagnated in the second half of his rookie campaign. And so Scottie Barnes kind of squeaked one out on him. And, Cavs fans did not forget that. So their second year in the league went very differently. Scottie had a sophomore slump. He was scoring a lot less efficiently than he did in his first season and really was not playing up to his potential on the defensive end. A lot of that was due to the fact that Nick Nurse had a questionable way of utilizing Scottie Barnes, which was to put him on the perimeter and play him as the point of attack defender. And I don't think anybody liked that. It was a very bizarre system to use with Scottie Barnes. Maybe it was a good way of teaching him how to do things on the perimeter and being a versatile defender, but it didn't really work to his advantage that season. So his defense wasn't very good. And also the Raptors as a team just kind of hit the skids. So in their first year, they did quite well with Scottie Barnes. In their second year, They lost in the play-in tournament. The year before, they had made the playoffs and lost to the 76ers, but it looked the downward trajectory had begun with the Toronto Raptors. And in that season, everything went kind of sideways. And although they traded for Pirtle at the trade deadline, that was not enough to save their season. They got bounced in the first game of the play-in tournament. And Scottie Barnes just did not have a very good season, unfortunately. On the other hand, the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of hit their stride. They won 55 games that season. They claimed the 4th seed, and a lot of it was due to the fact that Evan Mobley had kind of emerged as a defensive stud. Mobley was just a huge part of their success. He was already an elite defender in his 2nd season. He was named to the all-defensive first team, which is an unbelievable feat for a sophomore player, being that good defensively in your 2nd season. And he was really producing on the offensive end. He was a really good pick and roll player. He had a lot of chemistry with Darius Garland, and he was scoring efficiently. And he really put separation between himself and Scottie Barnes. He had an excellent 2nd season, and Scottie Barnes kind of had, a plateau 2nd season. He wasn't living up to his potential on the defensive end. He wasn't scoring very efficiently. His 3-point shot was just horrendous, just very, very poor. It was not a close competition. So rivalry over, right? The undeserving rookie of the year got lucky in his first season, and then the rightful owner was now on top. Evan Mobley had emerged. He should have gone top 2 in his draft, and he should have gotten rookie of the year, and he was being disrespected, all of that kind of stuff. Rivalry over, right? Not so fast, my friend. Scottie Barnes in year 3 rebounded from his disappointing sophomore season with, a pretty unbelievable 3rd year, where he kind of grew in a ton of different areas and really began to blossom on offense, showing that, he could shoot the ball. He shot a career high 34%, which, it was waxing, it was waning, but he showed that he had shooting capability. His offensive game in terms of passing really took a step forward. Scottie Barnes was averaging almost just a hair shy of 20 points per game, with almost 8.5 rebounds, over 6 assists, over a steal, and 1.5 blocks per game, and was able to show that he could flash the 3 as well. He was making that shot at a decent rate. He leveled up as a defender. His rim protection ability came to the fore, and while he wasn't still a top-level defender, it was a big improvement over the year prior to that. And as a result of his really good statistical production, he was named to his first All-Star team and became the first player in his draft class to actually make an All-Star team. So, man, he was looking unbelievable. Mobley, on the other hand, had injury issues. So he was dealing with some knee tenderness for the beginning of that season, his 3rd season. And then kind of right in the middle of the season, he underwent arthroscopic knee surgery, and he missed a big chunk of the season. He returned for the playoffs, but he never made as big of an impact as I think people were hoping in that season. And he played 50 games during that season. So it looked, it wasn't as good as people were hoping, but a lot of that had to do with injury. But Scottie Barnes really took a major step forward, and Mobley kind of was on the back foot a bit. So, Scottie FC back on top, baby, this time for good, right? No, the 4th season went completely different again. The seesaw battle flipped on its head, and Mobley came out like gangbusters. They had a new coach in Cleveland. JB Bickerstaff was fired. They brought in their current coach, Kenny Atkinson, who really made the offense pop. They looked like a much better team on the offensive end because they were already a good defensive team and were just kind of throwing the ball to Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, telling them to cook. It just was not a good enough system to utilize all of their players. Kenny Atkinson changed all of that, and their offense was really humming. The Cavs were just cavalanching other teams into oblivion. They looked like a complete juggernaut in the East, and they actually claimed the 1st seed in the Eastern Conference. And Mobley was a huge part of that. He was an absolute menace on the defensive end. And he continued to show his improved 3-point shooting. and his finishing ability looked good. He was blocking shots, he was stealing the ball, he could defend on the perimeter, could defend on the interior, was like an elite rim protector along with Jared Allen. It was just a huge campaign for him. He made the All-Star team. As I said, the Cavs came in first in the East. And then Mobley, rightfully, I mean, it was just an amazing season for him on the defensive end. He won the Defensive Player of the Year award, which is like a massive feather in the cap. So All-Star and Defensive Player of the Year, really just unreal production. On the other hand, Scottie Barnes' fourth season was kind of a disaster. So he was sidelined early last season with a broken orbital bone after Jokic kind of smacked him in the face. So he was dealing with that. He also sustained an injury to his shooting hand. His pinky was hurt. And as a result, he had a big offensive regression. His shot just completely nosedived. His three-point shooting percentage fell through the floor. His efficiency overall kind of cratered because he could not get into the paint consistently. And, he just looked out of his depth as a lead creator. The Raptors were, forcing him into a role of being the lead creator, the lead ball handler, and the Raptors offense really suffered. It was not fluid enough. He was not being as productive and, as efficient, and just did not look right in that season. He was just sort of overtasked, playing a role that wasn't to his strengths, and dealing with a lot of injuries. On the other hand, what did make a big step forward in that season, and I think was lost on a lot of people because not a lot of people watched Raptors games that season. I don't blame them. They were pretty bad, but his defense took a big step forward, and it went from looking kind of decent in his third season to elite. He made a very, very big leap in terms of defense, and he was looking like an elite defender at his position. Unfortunately, it wasn't really enough to make up for the other shortcomings, and the Raptors sank into the lottery for the second straight year. It was looking pretty low for Raptors fans. You kind of had to put away all the Scottie FC fan memorabilia and maybe not mention Evan Mobley alongside Scottie Barnes because it was looking rough. Brutal end to the rivalry, right? No, no. We're back onto our fifth season this year, and things are topsy-turvy yet again. The Raptors are absolutely rolling this season. They've won 8 straight games. They're sitting second in the East. And man, Scottie is looking like a special player. So the Raptors went out the season prior and got Brandon Ingram, and he took over the reins as the lead creator in the half court, something that Scottie Barnes was not, ideally suited to play that position. And as a result, with Brandon Ingram doing that kind of work, Scottie Barnes has kind of been freed to play his game a lot more naturally, and it is looking unreal. He has taken a huge, almost unbelievable step forward in many, many different categories. So Scottie Barnes, his defense was elite last season. This season, he will be in the running for the Defensive Player of the Year award. He is one of the most versatile and electric defensive players in the league. He can guard 1 through 5. He is a rim protector. He is a menace in the passing lanes. He is an unbelievable player at creating deflections and run out opportunities. He is an amazing defensive player. And not just that, his efficiency and his scoring have taken a substantial leap forward. As I said, almost unbelievable. In the season prior to this one, Scottie Barnes shot 27% from 3, and people such as myself were like, well, he had a season shooting 30% from 3, 28% from 3, 34% from 3, where everybody was like, okay, maybe he can shoot. And then the season afterwards, back down to 27%. People were kind of losing hope and saying, well, maybe he won't be a three-point shooter. Maybe he can just be kind of like an interior player. Well, now he's shooting 40% from 3. And one of the reasons for that is that he is not forced to be the primary creator. And as a result, playing off of the ball a lot more, he doesn't have to settle for three-point shots as much as he did. He's also picking his shots a lot more wisely. When he's not shooting the ball well, he doesn't jack up threes. When he is shooting the ball well, he can, feel good about himself and then start shooting the ball more. He's picking his spots way better. And he's shooting over 50% from the field for the first time in his career. He's shooting 40% from three. He is arguably the best transition player in the NBA. The Raptors are like an amazing transition team, and he is the main reason why. He creates the run out opportunities with his defense, and he is big, he is strong, he's athletic, he can handle the ball, and he's a great passer. Like, he has all of the attributes that you would want from a fast break player. So he's been unreal in transition. And he's just really starting to look like one of the most complete players in the NBA. He's a stat-stuffing monster who can handle the ball, plays elite defense, can make plays with the ball in his hands, and shoot. So, wow. Just like, he took all of the things that he had potential in, and we're now starting to see those attributes start to max out. He was always a kind of a jack-of-all-trades type player, but this season he's becoming like a king-of-all-trades player. Like, he's really starting to level up in so many different categories, so many different areas. Mobley, on the other hand, has had a disappointing campaign so far. Let's just put it that way, because things can change. It's, only about a quarter of the way into the season. With Darius Garland sidelined for a big chunk of the season, Mobley's more kind of one-dimensional game has become exposed. So Mobley is obviously an elite defender, and his offense has been, quite good to date in his career. But a lot of that has been as the play finisher. And one of the things that he does quite well is play off of the guards on the Cavs, especially Darius Garland, who has been one of the, guys who have been setting him up, especially in the pick and roll. And as a result, he has not been as efficient. In fact, he is shooting a career low in terms of field goal percentage, and also, shockingly, at the line. He has regressed substantially and is now shooting under 60% from the free throw line, whereas Scottie Barnes has kind of gone in a different direction. He's shooting 82% from the free throw line. So Scottie's efficiency has gone way up. Mobley's has come way down. And one of the big things is that when I was talking about jack of all trades / king of all trades for Scottie Barnes, Evan Mobley is not as versatile of a player as Scottie Barnes is. He's a two-way player that can score in the post and, is a good pick and roll player. But Scottie Barnes has those attributes, but can also handle the ball, can also do things and make plays for other people in a more dynamic way. He's also, I think, a more versatile defender. I think that he can guard the perimeter a lot better. And I think that the uptick in Evan Mobley's offensive responsibilities has not meshed with his skill set very well. He can't take on the extra load that is being asked for him to deliver with other players on the Cavs out of the lineup. So, Scottie Barnes, he's back on top this season. So what do you think? Like, is Scottie Barnes going to remain on top? Will things flip again next year? Will Scottie Barnes win the odd years and Evan Mobley win the even years? Or will maybe even Mobley could, flip things around this season, because it's still very early. It has been definitely one of the most interesting rivalries. But, Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley have always seemed to be on good terms. Scottie has repeatedly praised Evan Mobley as, a great player. He called him, he's like, this guy's really talented. He's the depoy. Has always used, glowing terms to describe Evan Mobley. And Evan Mobley is a very reserved player. He does not court controversy at all. So it doesn't seem to bother these two that they're being compared to one another over and over again. And obviously on the court, it's a different story. Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley, they have that fire burning inside of them. They hear the noise and they want to, be the best player. So it's not as if they're sort of shying away from it on the court, but off the court, things remain cordial. Not so between the Raptors and Cavaliers fan base, who are constantly fighting each other on social media over which one will reign supreme. So it should be like a pretty interesting battle for the next decade or so, especially now that the Toronto Raptors have emerged as one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. So it's not just, a battle between the two players for who is the better player. There's also the team element too, where the Raptors and the Cavs are probably going to be fighting one another for, success in the Eastern Conference, at least for the next couple of years or so. Hopefully, knock on wood. In any case, I wanted to highlight the battle between these two players. And even if you know what has transpired over the past 5 years, it was very interesting for me to go back and take a look at this kind of stuff and see how kind of wildly things have flipped back and forth between these two players. I do want to talk about the Cavs game, so why don't we jump right into the player evaluations, and we'll go straight to the top of the list. And while Scottie Barnes, this first part of this video was about him, and he did play very well in this game, we got to start off the player evaluations with Brandon Ingram. Number 3, Notorious BI3, had the game of the season for himself last night with a monstrous 37-point performance. He had 37 points on 30 shots. He was 15 of 30 for 50% from the field. He got it done from 3-point range. He was 5 of 11 from 3. I love to see that. He could have had a 40 burger in this game if he made all of his free throws. He went 2 for 5 from the free throw line. So those missing 3 points, they were all there at the free throw line. But I'll still take it. He had 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 4 turnovers. But he was dominant on offense. He was getting to his spots. He was just shooting free and easy. That's what I like about him, is that he has confidence. He has that, number one mentality where if he gets the ball, he does not feel any compunction, about shooting it. He will shoot the ball if he's feeling like it's his night. And he shot 11 threes last night, made 5 of them. And he was just in the flow. He was in a flow state. He was finding his spots on the perimeter, and this was like a shooting performance too. This wasn't necessarily him getting inside and getting to the basket a whole bunch. This was just like he was feeling it from the perimeter. And a lot of his shots, even if they weren't threes, a lot of them were long twos. Like, there's not a lot you can do when a guy as long as Brandon Ingram, who has those huge long arms that can get the ball, the release point is so high. If he's feeling it that night, I'm sorry, but you're just... It's not your night. He is going to be scoring over your contests. His shot is so high and the arc is so nice that you can't do a lot. You can't do a lot to stop him. He was looking just completely polished, completely unstoppable. He was scoring well from beginning to end, and just playing like a star. The Raptors brought this guy in to score the ball, and there's been more to his game. Like last night, I think that he did a lot of really good stuff in the paint on defense. He actually moved his feet pretty decently to guard players. Like, a lot of the time they would try and engineer a switch to get him on Donovan Mitchell. And it didn't work very well because, Brandon Ingram has been solid on that end. Like, he is either solid or good. Like, I have really liked out how he's helped out around in the paint. One of the things that I noticed was that when Donovan Mitchell got past his man on the perimeter and decided to take it inside, there were a bunch of long, big defenders waiting for him in the paint. And Brandon Ingram was one of those guys. There were a number of possessions where Donovan Mitchell drove into the paint and then Ingram was there with his hands up. And that makes a big difference. He can make a difference on that end. But obviously where he was the star of the show was on offense. And I loved his process this game. If you are hot, like if you're shooting the ball, it's okay to call your number. I think that's a lot of misconceptions people have about offense. Is yes, the Toronto Raptors like to share the ball. They move the ball with a purpose. But a lot of the time, you can run your system, and if it's generating you good shots, that's fine. But some of the time, this is the NBA. The NBA is about star players, and can your stars, carry the offensive load? Are they playing like a star this game? If they're playing like a star, just get out of their way. Just give them the ball and let them play. Team ball is fun. Team ball is good. It has worked for the Toronto Raptors this season. But some of the time it's just, the Toronto Raptors have Brandon Ingram and the other team doesn't. And so, you got to capitalize on that sometimes. Sometimes the players who are the best players in the league, best offensive players in the league, you just got to give them the ball and get out of the way. Last night was kind of one of those nights. He was unreal. Number 2, no surprise, man. Scottie Barnes was awesome. He was so good. 18 points on 13 shots. He was 0 of 2 from 3, but as I've mentioned in many of the other videos that I've done, Scottie Barnes has identified when he is cold from 3, and he'll give it a couple of shots to see if he can get one to drop, and if he doesn't, time to do something else. And that something else was the mid-range and scoring around the rim. And that's tough. Evan Mobley is, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, he is still an excellent defender. He is very long. He has very good foot speed. He has the elements that should, make it difficult for Scottie Barnes to score. And so when you see Scottie Barnes executing these, high degree of difficulty, shots that require skill, like the turnaround jump shot that he's developed, the ability to get the ball nice and high and get a good look at the rim. Like, he has a number of tools in his tool belt these days as a scorer that make it so that if he can't get all the way to the rim, like, Mobley is going to try and take that kind of stuff away, he has a counter move, and those counter moves add up and look good. He was playing off of the ball, but he was also playing on the ball. He was making really good passes. He was getting out in transition. And then on defense, he is an amazing help defender. He is an amazing, on-ball defender, especially against larger players. I think that he is just sort of, getting to that rarefied air where he is like a really good offensive player and also one of the best defenders in the league. Scottie Barnes is like an archetype of player that is not very common, where he can impact the game in almost every different way. And, some nights he does one thing that is amazing, and other nights he can do another thing that is almost just as amazing, but in a different category. He's unbelievable. He is, such a gift to this franchise, and it is a joy to watch him play because he can do everything. I love watching him play. There was a pretty substantial fall off after those two. Those guys were the players of the game. They were unreal. And then in the starting lineup, there was a big drop off, but there was another plateau from a player who I think played quite well. Jakob Poeltl did play well in this game for the most part. He didn't have a big scoring game. He had 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting. A lot of those were just like in transition, running the floor hard, and Scottie Barnes and other players were like finding him, running the floor. So good for him on that. But one of the biggest things that you notice, and he sat the previous game when he was being managed, load managed on back-to-backs. So they don't have him playing on one of the nights of a back-to-back. They picked the previous night for Yak to rest against the Nets. He played in this game. And the difference in this game between the rebounding in that game and the rebounding in this game was like night and day. So the Raptors actually won the battle on the glass like substantially. They had 51 rebounds to the Cleveland Cavaliers 37. So they big dogged them. And Jakob Poeltl was a huge part of that. Jakob Poeltl had 13 rebounds in this game, 3 offensive. Of course, the Cavaliers are missing Jarrett Allen, their starting center, who is, kind of their Jakob Poeltl. I mean, centers, you know what they do. They are a stabilizing force on defense, and they get you possessions with their rebounding. And so Yak was massive on that end. His defense is kind of, it's interesting because his rim protection, like his contests are not the most effective. Like you can score around his contests. He gets big, he puts his arms up, and he's in the right place. And a lot of the time that's good enough, but a lot of the time there are finishers who can finish around that kind of stuff. And, against elite finishers, he's going to kind of struggle if he is the last line of defense at the rim. Thankfully, the Raptors also have Scottie Barnes. They also have Brandon Ingram. There is some, extra rim protection there, and he is very good positionally, and he is good at moving his feet. They have him, like one of the elements of their defense that has looked very good this season is that the switching is very natural, and they have Jakob Poeltl coming out onto the perimeter so that they don't concede any kind of blow by or any kind of advantage situation, and they turn it into kind of an isolation. And it really helps to blow up plays, and you have to play on a string, and you have to give help, especially if Jakob Poeltl is on the perimeter. You have to show some help in the paint, and they do that. They do help out quite a bit, and Jakob Poeltl's foot speed is not that bad. So I think that it's just a stabilizing force to have him in the game, and he was very good in this game in that respect, especially when you compare it and contrast it with what I saw against the Nets, which was good, but really missing a center. And Jakob Poeltl came in, played 27 minutes, and, did his job. After that, we'll go to Jacoby Walter, and he didn't have a very good offensive game, but he was one of the cogs that they used to slow down Donovan Mitchell. And although I don't think it was like an elite defensive performance from Walter, it was good enough, and he was disruptive in other areas. So Donovan Mitchell shot 6 of 20 from the field for 17 points. And one of the reasons for that was Jacoby Walter. Jacoby Walter was the primary defender on Davion Mitchell. And while they did have him run around screens, so a lot of the time they will switch on a screen, but I think they liked the matchup with Jacoby Walter and Donovan Mitchell. They were comfortable with that matchup, so they let him run around the screens a little bit. But when they did switch, things went like clockwork. They did a very good job of clogging up the paint and forcing him to become a passer. They did not want him being the scorer in this game, so they would collapse into the paint and get him to kick it out. But he did try and finish inside around the length. And Jacoby Walter, he did a good enough job following him around screens and just kind of, harassing him. Donovan Mitchell is an excellent offensive player. And there were a number of times when Jacoby Walter, closed out a little too hard and he got into the paint. And thankfully, the Raptors' help defense was there to, make his night a little bit more difficult. So he was one of the elements in containing Donovan Mitchell. And he did have another, multi-steal night. He did have 2 steals in this game. So it wasn't like a complete catastrophe. Again, he's also like one of the better offensive rebounders on the team, which is really crazy because he is pretty small. Like he is, 6'4", 6'5", something like that, and quite slight, but he does play with a lot of energy. So he had 2 offensive rebounds, but he finished with 5 points on 2 of 8 shooting. That's not very good. He was 1 of 5 from 3. He was missing a lot of open 3-point shots, and that's how variance swings sometimes. So he was 4 of 5 in the game previously against the Nets. This game he was 1 of 5. Hey, that happens. 0 free throws, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers. And I'll tell you one thing, this is just a sort of a team-wide thing. The blind doubles that were like horrendous earlier in the season, where it seemed like they were blind doubling with like no backup plan or just like in the wrong spots, they're making it work now. And Jacoby Walter is one of the reasons for that. So he had a really good blind double steal on Evan Mobley when Scottie Barnes was the primary defender. Jacoby just ran up and ripped the ball away from Mobley, made him look foolish. He fell down on his face and then Jacoby dunked it. So, like he does stuff, he is disruptive, and I do kind of like what he brings to the table, but offensively he is very one-dimensional. So not an amazing game, but one that I'll accept from a second-year player. Last and least, this was, one of the worst games he's had in a long time. Like he was due for a bad game because he's been playing so well. Immanuel Quickley, Immanuel Quickley is a very box score oriented player. You can tell if the guy had a good game or not by looking at the box score. He had 11 points on 14 shots. He was 1 of 7 from 3. He did have 6 rebounds, 7 assists, a steal, and 2 turnovers. So like the floor game was pretty good, and he runs the pick and roll, and he does a good job of, especially when Jakob Poeltl is on the floor, of running the pick and roll and setting guys up. Like he's pretty decent from that aspect. But the shooting, like he takes a lot of shots, and I am okay with it. Like you gotta kind of, it's like when Lowry used to take those pull-up threes in transition. Before people understood that that's a good shot, people would get on his case and be like, he can't be taking these kinds of shots. What's he thinking? He's on the fast break. He should try and take it to the rim. Eventually, you drill down on the data, you look at how efficient he is when he takes those kinds of shots, and you're like, okay, I am okay with this shot. I am okay with most of the shots that Immanuel Quickley takes. I think he should be taking shots when he's open. I think we've seen what it looks like, when he is playing free and easy and allowed to take those shots. He can make those shots, and he can really push your team over the hump. Last night was not that night. 1 of 7 from 3, that's not good. 5 of 14 from the field. Yeah, he had a tough time. So, you're not going to win them all, but he was the last on the list here. Off the bench, oh man, there were some big performances. Sandro Mamukelashvili. Man, this guy has a chance to be 6th man of the year candidate here. He had 12 points on 5 of 8 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, 2 big ones. Like he hit back-to-back threes in the first half. That was sick. Really helped ignite that second quarter run where the Raptors took the lead. He had 9 rebounds. I love to see that. 3 assists, 1 block, 1 turnover. Great game on both ends too. He is active on defense. He is trying to help out. He is, active on the defensive end. He's passed what I call the Aaron Baines test. So if you were unlucky enough to watch the Toronto Raptors during the Tampa season, they signed a guy named Aaron Baines. I thought it would be a good signing because he was kind of a 3-and-D center, and maybe that would work out for them. Unfortunately, Aaron Baines did not like to guard the basket. What he would do is just kind of stick to his man like glue. So if there was a power forward or a center on the other team, he would just stay next to that guy and, seal him off, try to grab the rebound. He would never come over and try and block a shot or contest a shot. It was maddening. It was so frustrating watching guys just run into the paint and lay it up around him. And Mamu is not like that. He is trying to protect the basket. So he sensed a blow by. He came over to cut off the penetration from a guard, and there was a very nice pass made to his man who he helped off of, and that player came in and tried to lay it up, and he blocked that shot. So it was an amazing first effort where he cut off the penetration to the basket, doing what a center should do. And then an amazing second effort where he used his leaping ability to get up and block the shot. He is trying out there. He really is trying on both ends. And then on offense, he has a big bag. He can score in a whole bunch of different ways. He looked awesome last night. I just loved his contribution. And right there behind him, another guy, like these guys are kind of like the Raptors engine off of the bench. They give them so many good minutes. Jamal Shed had another great game. 9 points on 3 of 4 shooting. He was 1 of 2 from 3, 2 of 3 from the line, 0 rebounds, 7 assists. This guy is good for at least 5 assists every game off of the bench, which is like unbelievable. He also had a steal in this game, only 1 turnover, 7-to-1 turnover ratio. And the guy is dealing. The guy is constantly dealing on the court. He's finding players. The guy loves to get into the paint. He consistently gets into the paint using screens. Sometimes he just attacks, the space that's open to get into the paint, and then he can make a play. He's also a good connector. He's also a good passer in transition. He just runs the offense so well, and he generates assists. Like, he generates scoring opportunities with his passing. I love watching him play. I love watching him play. Every game, it's just when he comes into the game, he changes things. Like, Emmanuel quickly has his strengths as a player. Don't get me wrong. I think that his defense has improved, and he's he can do the sort of basic reads, and his shooting is like, a huge difference maker. Jamal Shed is a completely different player. He plays a different way. He pushes the pace. He can get into the paint and, by himself and make plays for other people. I love the way he plays. I love the chemistry that he's developed with Mamu. He had a number of assists to Mamu. Those two are like a great 1-2 punch, because when those two come into the game, they're looking for each other. And especially the one direction where Shed finds Mamu. He had a couple of really nice dump-in passes when Mamu was under the basket and was able to make layups and stuff. Another great game from him. Unfortunately, this was also like how the starting unit was all about Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram, and then the rest were kind of various shades of mediocre or even bad. The bench was kind of similar here, so it was Jamal Shed and Sandro carrying the big load there. Everybody else kind of wasn't as good. Grady Dick had a kind of nightmare night. 0 points on 0 5 shooting, 0 for 3 from 3. Literally no other stats. So 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, and 3 fouls. His worst game of the season. And there were a bunch of defensive breakdowns too. They were getting him into high pick and roll coverage. And unfortunately, there were a bunch of blow-bys. And the Raptors did a good job. Like, they have good help defense, but if he's not giving you like a good offensive night, like good offensive production, I don't think he is worth playing in the game. Grady Dick, like, he does concede a lot of blow-bys. Just a bad game. We'll move along. Colin Murray-Boyles had another kind of so-so evening. 4 points on 1 of 1 shooting, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover. Nothing special. A bunch of other players played, but let's get to the final thoughts here. So the Raptors have swept the season series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you have to be fair to them. They've been dealing with injuries. This game, there were a couple of major injuries for them. Darius Garland was sitting on the second night of a back-to-back because he played the previous night against the LA Clippers. Jared Allen is out with injury. Max Strus is also out with injury. So they are dealing with injuries. With that said, the Raptors are continuing to roll. You play who's in front of you, and the Cavs have not been healthy all season. So the Raptors took care of business, and they continue to win games that they should win, and they're doing it convincingly. Like last night, it was kind of a struggle in the first half, and then in the second half, they just looked a lot better. They looked way better in the second half. They were playing really good defense. The defense was on a string. They were shutting down Donovan Mitchell, which is something that you need to do. They were generating turnovers. They were rebounding. They were the bigger, more physical team. And, they won on a bunch of different axes. And unfortunately, they were pretty bad from the free throw line. They only shot 66% from there. The Cavs are perfect from the line, but it ended up not mattering. The Raptors were the better team. They won by 11 points. And, you know, they don't have to play the Cavs again this year, which I think is pretty good. I think if they're at full strength, the Cavs, you know, would give the Raptors a run for their money. They probably would not have been swept. I'm just guessing right now, especially not that first game where they were really, really hurt and like pretty much all of their players, and the Raptors needed, you know, Jamison Battle to swoop in and have one of the most efficient scoring nights of all time to save their buns in that game. But in this game, there was, you know, they outclassed the Cleveland Cavaliers. The next game that they play is against the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers have been one of the worst teams in the whole league. They've only won 2 games. They are 29th in net rating. They have a whole bunch of injuries. Halliburton's injured. Quentin Jackson's injured. Aaron Nesmith, their 3-and-D guy, is injured. Obi Toppin is injured. They did get Benedict Mathurin back, and he should be able to make a difference for them. In fact, he's been, you know, scoring quite well for them. He's scoring almost 25 points per game in the 6 games that he's returned. So should be a little bit more difficult because the Raptors played the Pacers the last time without him. They also have Andrew Nembhard, who's obviously, I love his game. Pascal Siakam is good too. You know, they've got a little bit more talent than you would think considering their record. So the Raptors are probably, you know, going to have to try at least a little bit in order to win this game. But they will be at home, and that is at 7:30 on Wednesday, so tomorrow. In any case, that is the video. Hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow, lets the algorithm know that this is content that other Raptors fans want to watch. And also join the Discord, and also join up with us tonight when we are doing a podcast. Me and Steve, aka Raptor Shack, will be on stream live tonight at 8:30 here on YouTube and hopefully on Twitter. We'll check into that. But yeah, join us tonight at 8:30 on the podcast. And in any case, thank you for watching Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.